Welcome to podcast 64 from Tyre and Rubber Recycling. This is the second part of the podcast from the recycling panel at the Tire Cologne. Here, we discuss topics including the selective brand recycling and potential impact on grey imports. We ask why rubberised asphalt is not more widely used. And with the CR infill ban coming, we ask if there's a possibility of it being overturned. If not, what are the alternative uses for the crumb rubber with the ban in place? And finally, we discuss the question of how to deal with OTR stockpiles.
Okay, so next question is, if for the premium new tyre manufacturers go further down the route of recycling only their own tyres, what then happens to all the imported new tyres that no one wants to recycle? I think this is another one for you, Stefan, I think.
Why?
Yeah, why?
Why always me?
Yeah.
I'd say the question, we're not there yet. And the question is, will that ever be possible? Depending, I think it will also depend on the collection scheme and how these products then are redistributed. As I said, in Germany we have an open market, and that open market works well. We have a lot of innovative products, and even, I'd say, but this is really, I mean, out of the head, without having premeditated it, and certainly not the intention of the association or talking for my members. But even if every tire maker takes back his tires, the other tires which are still on the market can still be recycled to something else. If the tire makers need their tires to rebuild their own tires, yes, of course. But we have working circularity systems today, so why not have these tires put in that system? I don't see any problems in. If it ever would happen, I don't think that's a good idea. But if ever it would happen, we can still continue the scheme we have today, and that would work, and that would keep even those products in a loop, not in the tire loop, but in another loop. And as I said, the circle might have a radius going to infinite, but it's still a circle.
I think at the moment, with the exception of one or two markets, the EPR schemes are managed on behalf of a limited number of companies. So if those limited number of companies go into the process of recovering their own tyres, and SDAB in Sweden are looking at doing this. I know that Alia Pur have got the technology, Michelin are playing with it. If they recycle their own tyres to meet their obligation to the EPR scheme, those who are not members of that EPR scheme, for whatever reason, become a problem. Who is going to dispose of any number of grey, let's call them grey imported Chinese tyres?
No, completely agree. I think at the moment I also don't see that this issue is coming up in the short term. And I think here we will also find a solution for the future. I think at the moment I don't see a real risk on it.
No, I think I should be clear. Whilst Michelin are playing with it, they have said that they don't see it in the near future. Yeah. But then again, this is the tyre industry, and it takes a lot of time for things to change.
But I think before we take a look in these, we should try to find a solution to start a recycling recovery business and not make it directly bad, what could be maybe happen in future. And I think that's also the reason why we are not financed until today.
Okay, so the next subject I want to talk about is rubberised asphalt. Now, rubberised asphalt is often held up as an ideal solution for ELT rubber. Because of the performance quality of the road surface if you use it. So why hasn't it caught on?
It's too good.
Yeah.
It's there are a number of reasons. But essentially, if you're a road constructor and you can build a road and know that in 10 years' time you're going to go back and relay that road, why are you going to invest in a technology that will last for 25 years? It's Sergio Amercanian tells the story of the bridge that needed resurfaced every 6 months, and he said, I have a solution. And he went out to, I think it was Malaysia, and he resurfaced the bridge with rubberized asphalt, and 10 years down the line they haven't had to resurface it. But also the local contractors have said, we don't want to do this because we won't have any work. I referred to it in a recent article. It's a man in a white suit syndrome. Man in White Suit was an Alec Guinness comedy where he created a suit that didn't wear, it didn't get dirty, it lasted forever, and the industry destroyed him because his technology was going to destroy their industry.
I think my products are not really going in this system, but I think it's also a question of costs. What I see when it starts, you can use it in the Netherlands. In Austria, it's not so easy to use it. When you have the winter and snow on it, water's going through. So it was, what they told. But from my point of view, I only can say maybe it's a cost question. I don't want to see it there in asphalt because then I don't see it at my gate again. So it's not of interest for me.
It is certainly a cost question. Tarmac in the UK want to sell it, but there is that price differential. And when you go to local authorities and they're looking at an annual budget instead of a 10-year budget, they say, no, this is what we want to pay now, and they go for a standard polymer modified asphalt.
It's because it's not public. If it would be an industry or private person or private people paying for this road, we would have rubberized asphalt, because what we call TCO, the total cost of ownership, is way below what we build today. But since it's, let's say, political stakeholders building roads, it's a city, it's a town, it's whatever, it's a region. They have different approaches, and some of them are political. So why would I want to build something that the one who is elected 5 years after me can still say, perfect, we did this? So you don't have the whole benefit. And I think there was a very good project, and was also proposed or at least presented at UN level, was this labeling for roads. Was a project in the Netherlands where they did a similar thing to what is on the tire. So they gave the roads a label on grip, on energy saving, on noise reduction, and also on longevity. And depending on how, or basically a city could say, I want a road ABA for 20 years, and you could propose as a contractor, if you did the same, what they've asked, you get some X, you get the regular money. If you said, I'm more expensive but I can do better, then you would get the funding. So there was no drawback for more expensive proposals for road builders to do. So they would still continue building roads. And if you look at Germany, there's enough road to build. So I think nobody would go out of business by not building roads. And if we do something which is more sustainable and we could reuse the rubber in the roads, they would, of course, last longer. But the thing is, especially in Germany, we're lacking the regulations to build these roads. Bavaria has one. Saxony is just putting one in place. And that one, which will be put in place in Saxony, will be, I think, one that could be copy-pasted, hopefully, by other regions in Germany.
So we come back once again to legislation being the driver.
Yes, in this case, yes, because we know of the benefits. You know that the state of California doesn't allow to build anything else than rubberized asphalt roads. So I think it's self-evident. But as for a lot of things, self-evidence is not always taken into account.
Okay, yeah, so talking of legislation, the Crumb Rubber Infill is subject to a forthcoming EU ban. So in your opinion, is there any chance of getting this ban overturned or derogated?
I'm going to pick up on this because I spent a whole morning at the ETRA conference listening to people from ETRA talking about how they'd like to get it overturned. And then Jose Yenestrel from ASLM put up a screen, and there are 57,000 FIFA approved artificial turf pitches in Europe. Now, when these were being installed, the installers told the football associations, you will need to put another 1.5 tons of crumb rubber into this every year. So, with 57,000 times 1.5, my maths is terrible, but it's a lot. In actual fact, research done in Sweden and in Spain says that the losses from a whole pitch are between 3.5 kilos and 12 kilos per year.
Yep.
Now, if the installers hadn't been greedy, they wouldn't have had that 1.5 ton figure. They wouldn't have had the almost 90,000 tons been lost into the environment. And we also come to the emotional issue, where people say, "Oh, it's bad for the environment, it's bad for health." Well, I'm not quite sure how you're going to ingest crumb rubber, and if you fall on it and you get it in your skin, you brush it off. Fine powders might be an issue. Tyre road wear particles, that type of size, might be an issue when they get into the environment, but I don't think 4mm crumb rubber is an issue, but it's gone, and I cannot see the European Union reversing that.
It might be reversing at a point in time when they realize that the substitutes they're using are even more harmful. No, I mean, I've been talking to a chemist lately, and okay, it's hearsay. I wouldn't go the whole mile, but if you look at that, some of the pitches today are substituted with cork. Cork is, first of all, you need a fungicide because otherwise it might catch up. It might start molding. That's one of the things. At a heavy rain shower, it might get washed away. And the thing is that cork comes from regions where there are often forest fires, and forest fires generate pH, a lot of it, which are picked up by the cork trees and then migrate into the cork trees. So some of the cork that is put in pitches today has more pH than the actual crumb rubber which is on the floor. We've shifted the debate from PAH to microplastics, and I think we'll never get it out of the microplastics box. So I think this question doesn't pose itself if we're ever going to go back to it at a certain point in time. But
yeah, you mentioned the alternatives. I understand one of the alternatives being put forward by the artificial turf people is a more dense carpet, so more polythene filaments, which wear and tear and put finer particles into the environment anyway. It's a bit of a no-win situation.
I only can say we see it as a feedstock, and when I get this issue, it's also a problem for us. So when you take a look, also in carbon black, it's on the micro size, so it could be a problem. So we can do all of these, but this will be not a solution. Let us see. I hope it will be changed a little bit.
So if this market eventually disappears, what options are there to replace the market?
None really.
There aren't.
That's a question I put to Genan yesterday, and they have worked towards finding other markets. They are the largest producer of crumb rubber in Europe, and they tell me they're finding other products, other outlets, molded goods, and so on. And if Genan can find solutions, so can everybody else.
You can, and we have substitute products. I mean, in Germany Germany doesn't consume much crumb rubber for sports fields. We're a very low number compared to the rest of Europe. So most of our crumb rubber goes into products and not into sports fields. Of course, they're one part, but It's just a small fraction. So I think we could substitute, but we can't substitute the sports fields. So yes, you might have more dense grass sod or whatever, but yeah, if you take out the crumb rubber, you'd have to substitute sometimes with sand, I think. But it's more. It might hurt you more if you fall and doesn't have the same rebound. So you have difficulties.
Okay, so it looks like we're just about going to be able to get through all the questions that were set. The last one relates to the OTR market and scrap OTR tyres. The mining sector has large stockpiles all over the place, some of them in really remote areas. So how should the tyre recycling sector approach, getting rid of all these historic stockpiles?
When I take to us, we have done a very good project. We're able to do it as well for conveyor belts. The biggest issue is the logistics. Yeah. And at the moment, we also cannot shredding it at our plant because it's more for truck tire and passenger car tire. So the biggest issue is the same for the circular solution for tire producer is always the logistics. And this was I have now near 1 year to find a solution for passenger car and truck tire in the US. And when we now talk about OTR tires, yes, we can do it. We like it as a feedstock, but the logistics is a big issue.
Yeah, I think the logistics is a key thing with OTR tires, which is why we see OTR treatment plants being at source. So Michelin, Cal Tire are initiating plants to deal with tires as they are arising. Elsewhere, it's not always quite so straightforward. Australia has a big mining community. South Africa has, and they are not recycling their tires. In South Australia, the Whitehaven Coal is simply burying them, and we've photographs of acres and acres of OTR tires being buried. Yet Tyre Stewardship Australia are trying to promote the recycling, and the mining companies are just ignoring it because they can.
Anybody else?
No, I wouldn't have an answer to that. But yes, we've been talking to Australian Tyre Stewardship as well, and they said, yes, that's the problem. It's a continent, and on a continent you have so vast differences, so great distances that you would have to have a recycling plant just next to the mine, either for retreading, for granulating, or for whatever, so that you could continue using the product. But otherwise, it's just too for the moment, it's too expensive. Might, at a certain point in time, worthwhile, but
on the other hand, they could use reverse logistics, because if they're delivering 10 OTR tires to a plant, that wagon's going back empty. So why not take them back to source? But
we see the same issues, and I completely agree. We have to build a plant near, let me say, where the feedstock will be. It makes no sense to ship it all over the world and burn it. That's the reason why usually the chemical recycling plants are always smaller, which make more sense. So, and I think you will also find a solution. We can use it, and we like the feedstock because, as you know, we are only recovering what's in the tire. And when we talk about mining tire, OTR tire, they have less inorganic content inside, so it's more of interest for us, and also for the clients.
thank you for joining us in the discussion. Your thoughts and comments are always welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and you can follow us on LinkedIn, X, Facebook and WhatsApp, or visit our website, or for full access, subscribe to Tyre and Rubber Recycling magazine.